Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to 2024. I mean, actually, it's been a few days since 2024 began, but that's fine. We are here to do a little retrospective on the last year, 2023, which is when we started doing a podcast. There's a link below where you can see all the podcast episodes. But for now, I just thought it would be fun to talk about kind of the movies that we saw this year. Not necessarily on the podcast and not necessarily movies that came out this year, but just movies we saw this year. Because, not everything... I don't always watch everything as it comes out. So it's it's not important when it came out. It's just, this is a retrospective of 2023 as we experienced it.
And I have to say, huge disclaimer, guys. I don't have a very good sense of time. I have no idea what happened in 2023. I don't recall. I didn't even remember that we started this podcast in 2023. For me, this has been gone forever because the present is infinite and the past is gone and it's out of my memory. So we will see how much can I recollect.
Okay. Well, is there a movie this year that is like your favorite movie you saw this year? Surely you can remember that.
So it's not... I don't think that this is the favorite movie that I saw this year because we watched The Godfather together, so it cannot be the favorite movie that I watched this year. But there is an element of surprise on watching a new movie and also on just be part of a phenomenon.
Oh no. I feel like I can tell what's coming.
And so I'm going to choose the Barbie movie.
The movie that was just called Barbie.
Yes.
We saw that one together. We were very excited. I was interested. And you wanna give an elevator pitch on why this is such a great movie?
I was very scared.
For a second there, I thought you were gonna say no.
I was
don't wanna
thinking
give
about
that.
it. It's like, because I was very scared watching this movie because I had high expectation, and usually it's never a good idea to go and watch a new movie with high expectations. And I really enjoyed it for ways that I was not for the reasons that I was anticipating it. Actually, I like the feminist angle and the meaning of life angle that it has, like the deeper meanings. I think it's done very, in a very, very elegant way.
Okay.
It's not too much on the nose, and I was just thinking that I would just enjoy watching silly Barbie things. That there are plenty and they are beautiful, but it's just a good movie, and it makes you both reflecting about the present and how much work still has to do, but also hopeful.
It's interesting because I also like this movie, but I had the opposite experience. I thought it was heavy-handed, and it didn't work whenever it was veering into the more overtly feminist aspects. And I thought when it was just a silly, stupid movie, that's when it worked best.
Maybe because I consume way more overtly feminist content than you, and
This
I see how...
seems subtle to you?
Yes.
Okay. But there's literally a big speech about how life is different for women.
But this is such a good speech.
Right,
I really
but I'm saying
liked
it's not
it.
elegant. You call that elegant? It's just literally now it's time for the big speech.
Yes, but you were not I was not anticipating that was the big speech moment, and I wasn't anticipated that it would be America Ferrera giving it the big speech moment, and the big speech also was real. It was not just a speech to get the crowd rallying up. It was real things.
Okay.
And
So
very honest.
Those are our thoughts on the Barbie movie. Check it out. It's available somewhere on streaming, I'm sure. Is it still in cinemas? It was.
It was in cinema forever.
It's going for a while. That and Oppenheimer. My favorite movie that I saw this year is called Bullet Train. It's a movie I think came out in 2022, maybe. It's not a movie that came out last year, but I just finally got around to watching it, and I didn't know, the way I approach movies is like, if I'm even vaguely interested in seeing something, I do not inform myself at all about anything else about it, so that I come into it with a fresh perspective, just without expecting anything to happen. Which is interesting because on the podcast we rewatch a lot of movies where I don't have that experience, but when I watch like movies on my own, that's how I do it. And so I didn't know anything about Bullet Train other than Brad Pitt is on a train, maybe. Turns out it's an insane movie. It's really silly. It's kind of like a Tarantino type thing where like it's very violent, but it's also like ridiculous and all. There's like about a hitman who is on a train to hunt someone down, but then a whole bunch of other stuff happens, and Brad Pitt is very charming as this kind of wary, like he's like a hitman who's trying to improve, like do his self-help improvements, so to make his life better, and he's trying to be nice to people, but his job is to kill people. So it's just like a cool, weird thing. And
No, I kind of want to watch it.
I think you wouldn't like how violent it is, though. There's like people getting cut up into pieces and stuff. So
Is there anybody puking?
I can't remember anyone puking,
So maybe it's safe.
but it's like there's a lot of, let's say, fluids. Anyway, I recommend it if you like the kind of Tarantino style insanity movies. I think some people have criticized it for being a bit of a knockoff, like uninspired version of a Tarantino movie. I mean, I guess I don't watch a lot of Tarantino stuff, so I can't speak to that. But I enjoyed it. My favorite movie that I saw this year. And had a good time. Now, we briefly brought up Oppenheimer just now.
Yeah.
Which
Because
brings
there
us
was Barbenheimer.
it brings us neatly to the biggest kind of disappointing movie experience that we had this year. For me, it's a contender between Oppenheimer. Oh God, the cat is
It's claiming the microphone as is.
taking the pop filter. For me, there's two movies that were kind of like notable disappointments, and it's because I expected a lot from them, and that is Oppenheimer, and another one. So Oppenheimer is disappointing because it's a Christopher Nolan movie, and I really like all the movies he's made, and this one is just a biography about a guy I'm not that interested in, and so I didn't get as much out of the movie as I'd hoped. But my true disappointment of the year is Indiana Jones 5. Because that is a movie that I thought might be good, and it's just not good. The more I think about it, the worse it gets in my mind. When I finished watching it, I thought, it's like take it or leave it. But the more I think about it, it's actually bad. It's stupid. It's boring, and no one... Like, if you're going to do that with Indiana Jones, then no one needed another Indiana Jones movie.
Because you keep watching the sequels, even if you know that it's going bad.
Because I don't think that it has to be a bad movie. It is interesting to see an aging, basically superhero, adventure guy, who was already kind of had a lot of weaknesses when he was young.
But it's not about the concept, it's about like the franchise. You know where it's going. So you know that it's probably not gonna do something interesting and introspective.
We talked about the first two Indiana Jones movies on the podcast already, and I have said clearly that like one of the things I love about Indiana Jones is a stylistic issue, and you can use that for all kinds of other movies. So if you bring the same style to a story that is slightly different now, it makes sense that it's part of a franchise because this is a stylistic continuation. Unfortunately, without getting into the movie anymore, it's just there's no merit to what they did with the script. Make a good script. Make it Bullet Train.
I think that this is the problem with a lot of with the movie industry nowadays, because they make a lot of remakes and reboots and bloops and
adaptations such as Barbie.
So
that's a good example actually. Barbie is an adaptation of like a toy franchise. What the fuck is that? Right? Like or we talked last week about the Lego, like the Lego, not the Lego movie, but Lego: The Adventures of Clutch Powers. And there we have a nice juxtaposition of two things that aren't original, but one of them is good, which is the Lego movie, which we'll talk about later on the podcast. And one of them is
No, we already talked.
ad,
Yes. Little
an ad for Legos. Like there's good ways and bad ways of doing it, and I think it's the same with sequels.
Yes, but if I can finish a point.
Okay, sass.
Now it seems that since people started from the Marvel franchise on, they were just like, oh, we can do this and we can make many movies of the same kind and we can keep doing it, and everything became a franchise and everything became like let's redo this and let's remake it. And now they're remaking The Office and you think that you're gonna watch it, and just like, I'm not gonna watch it if I don't trust these people. I don't want them to ruin a good thing. I don't trust
TV
movie
shows
people
are
anymore.
also its own thing anyway. We watched some of National Treasure, the TV series, and it's so boring.
That could be the biggest disappointment on my
But
year.
if that was National Treasure 3, we would have just watched that movie, and it would have been like, ugh,
Yeah.
But we stopped watching the show because it's more than just one movie. It's like 2 episodes are the length of a proper movie. So I don't know. Moving on, what were you very disappointed in this year?
Well, you said that I was allowed to mention TV shows.
Sure.
So I'm a person...
We have done TV shows on the show.
I'm a person that, since I don't like to watch new variation of what I liked, I rewatch a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when I get stressed, I rewatch the same things that comfort me when I was like a teenager. I was very stressed in like the winter months, and I rewatch what I used to love, and it was Gilmore Girls.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my biggest disappointment, because every time I rewatch it, I get more and more disappointed, both in the show and in the fact that I liked it.
No.
It's the main characters that we should relate to. A good person should not be wanting to relate to them.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was watching it when I was growing up and like in my formative years, I was like, oh yes, let's be like Rory or Lorelai and stuff. No, I don't want to be like them, and that's why I'm also pretty much disappointed in my teenage self.
Okay. So you're not as disappointed in Gilmore Girls as you weren't disappointed in yourself.
I'm also disappointed in Gilmore Girls because it's not just me, like a lot of people like them, so I'm kind of disappointed that they took a concept that probably could fly with a bunch of audience.
What's the concept of Gilmore Girls?
The teenage mother that comes from a rich family that has a daughter at 16 run away from her family and raise them, and they're best friends, and the juxtaposition of her old world and her new world as a 32-year-old mother of a 16-year-old that's she's like the wilder one, and the 16-year-old is the bookish and everything.
Okay,
I don't
that
know.
definitely doesn't sound appealing at all.
Well, you're
We're
not the
moving on.
target demographic.
Do you have, I think it would be fun to give each other recommendations, something that we saw last year that we think the other person might like. So for example, I think that you might like the sequel to the Spider-Verse movie, because you forget that you like animation, and this movie has a very distinct animation style. It's more of the same in terms of the crazy visuals and all that, but it also centers a little bit more, actually a lot more, on Spider-Gwen, so it has an interesting kind of new perspective, and also, I think if you engage with it a little bit more, you would also realize that these are really well-written movies. So, but this movie is part 1 of 2, so maybe next year, when part 2 comes out, we can watch both of them, and everything will be awesome.
I think I would like Oppenheimer. Seems like it could be a movie in which people are in a room talking.
Yes, it is about people in rooms talking. Oppenheimer, I think you would probably appreciate more than I do, but also I think you would have similar issues with it that I have, which is Nolan has this desire to make everything a puzzle. So telling a straightforward story about a guy that did some very interesting things becomes really unnecessarily complicated. And like there's perspectives and like time jumps and all of that. It's
I
like
did really like the Imitation Game.
okay, I didn't watch that.
Probably you wouldn't like it. I have a recommendation for you, but I don't remember the title. I think
Okay.
I already recommended it to you while I was watching it.
Okay.
It's a movie with the Irish Jedi Master.
Okay.
Who is it?
Ewan McGregor.
No, the other, like Qui-Gon Jinn.
Well, Ra's
Sha-
al Ghul.
Yes.
Yes.
What's the name of the actor?
It's just Ra's al Ghul.
Okay, with him is
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson used to be a cop and now is insurance agent, but he loses his job. He's on a train. It's The Commuter.
The Commuter.
It's called The Commuter, yes.
Okay.
And it was all set on a train. I'm not recommending you because you just said that your biggest movie of the year is set on a train. I already recommended it to you. I just think that...
Also, just for your information, I've already seen The Commuter.
Okay.
In fact, we've talked about The Commuter,
And
not
I
on the
forgot.
podcast, but yeah, The Commuter is good except the resolution of what's actually going on. A lot of these movies devolve into stupidity. And in fact, next week, we're going to do Flight Plan, which has a similar problem. But yeah, I mean, it's a good recommendation because I would be interested in it. I don't think I will ever rewatch that, though.
I
And I
think
think
I
neither
like
would you.
movies in which people are stuck in a small place and they
Yeah.
have to solve a puzzle.
Yeah. And on that note, let's tease next week's episode. We're going to talk about Flight Plan, which is about ladies stuck on an airplane trying to solve the puzzle of whether or not she has sanity.
And the lady's Jodie Foster.
Yes. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for listening to this nonsense. I hope you had good experiences with movies this year.
Oh, give us your recommendation in the comments below.
Exactly.
And subscribe.
And maybe let us know which podcast movie you enjoyed the most. Because, I don't know, it's interesting. You know, our most viewed episode is Rush Hour. So we're going to have to do Rush Hour 2 soon. But, I don't know. Maybe that's just a coincidence. Maybe, you know, maybe you have a different preference. And that's for you to share with us down in the comments. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year. See you
And
soon.
bye.